Hello everyone, my name is Giraton and welcome back to Bakugan Advance. So, I made an ever so minor mistake based on an assumption in my deck building video, thinking people would know what cores and Bakugan to use. Now, the Bakugan changes far too frequently, it also decides the deck archetype, and there are many better videos than what I make that go over Bakugan. But cores is something rather ignored by players by thinking it's pretty simple. However, after a few comments and discussions led me to realizations that new players really don't find it obvious. So here I'm doing a little mini-sode covering all the good cores before Armoured Alliance, and I'll make a new video each time a new set of cores is released. So, let's get right into it. Starting with the Green Fist. Green Fist would be the weakest core type in the game if it weren't for its card support. Although it's still the most simple to analyze, so let's start with them. There are only two cores from Green Fist that really matter. Yes, just two. And it would be one. Plus 3 damage Green Fist. The plus 3 damage Green Fist is the highest just damage core in Green Fists. You use this just to provide a damage boost. Now this is borderline useless, but this has a very specific use that may appear in the future that I'll get into more detail with in Red Fists. However, even this role is a much weaker version of what I'll be covering, so may never actually be the case. 150B plus 2 damage Green Fist. This is the go-to Green Fist core. It's the highest B power boost a Green Fist provides, and that alone makes it the most useful, but it also gives a minor boost to damage. Unfortunately, this still makes it weak core compared to other types. Mono green decks have started stealing the opponent's higher B power boosting cores, then using a Mega Punch to get their core bonus, and that's how bad this B power boost is. All your Green Fists should be this core regardless of the deck, with the sole exception of core swapping decks, and even then. Fortunately, the 2 damage boost actually makes the deck able to ignore damage boosting cards and still deal a solid amount of damage to end the game relatively quickly. Now, you are probably wondering why I'm not covering the attribute-specific Green Fists. Simply put, their B power isn't high enough and its damage is locked behind the attribute, not the damage. If either the B power was higher or was locked behind attributes instead of the damage boost, then the core would be useful. But alas, with this B power focused game, you would rather use the 150B 2 damage core solely because it gives you more B power. Orange Shields is technically the weakest core type due to their support being highly lacking, but when you simply have a few Bakugan with Orange Shields, they give you just enough B power boosting to actually keep up with its aggressive equivalent in the form of splashing. Orange Shields has a lot of cores that are pretty good, but because most of them are just different variants of the same core, it's functionally only 2 good cores. Plus 300B Orange Shield. Now, the 300B shield is not as good as the next core I'll be covering, but if you're running a 3-faction deck and don't trust your rolling, or use a faction combination not supported by other orange shields, then it's an easy choice to pick up. It's simply 300B, it's a great bonus for a weak core. I've had Brawls 1 off this one. Plus 400B faction locked orange shields. The faction locked cores for orange shields are very good. It keeps the cores restricted to your deck in many matchups, meaning your opponent has to keep track of them if they really wish to use them. It's also the highest B power you can get from an orange shield core, so when you can use them, I highly recommend doing so. Alas, some decks can't, so you might want to go with the 300B in those cases, but those are very rare cases. Flaming Fists are oddly weak, but incredibly well supported by the Bakugan that use them. Only 2 cores are really used from Flaming Fists, but their roles in decks do help quite a bit, and both have close substitutes for budget play. Plus 6 damage Flaming Fist. The plus 6 damage core has a very specific but powerful use, being picked up by a winning Chaos Titan Nilius through its effect to deal incredibly high damage. Timed right, and this combo can be used to end games. Another use is to use it when you have a Might or Mac turn, as the plus 6 damage will put you over nearly anything in terms of damage. This is also the sort of purpose the previously mentioned Green Fist plus 3 damage core would be used for. Often only used at 1 copy per deck, the potential of this core to end games makes it quite useful, and the 5 damage variant is also quite effective should you not have a 6 damage version. But it comes with very powerful Bakugan anyway, so you should have a copy of it if you are building optimal decks. 250B plus 3 damage Flaming Fist. The highest B power boosting Flaming Fist, and the most commonly used one. Simply put, you want the B power boosts to win fight easier, and the plus 3 damage is quite effective at proving enough damage for decks using them to not require damage boosts. The alternative 150B plus 4 damage core is much weaker, and I wouldn't recommend using it over the 250B version, especially since you can get them from card collections from BB. But if you can get a lot of Might and Max in the deck, it's not the worst idea. Magic Shields are the most powerful core type, and the Bakugan that provide them are B-power-wise balanced accordingly. That being said, there is only one Magic Shield core you ever want to use. The plus 650B Magic Shield. This is the highest B power you can get from a core. Using these win most brawls by themselves. There is a 600B power version, but that 50B is surprisingly important, and you can get these from the same card collection as the 250B Flaming Fist core. Helix cores are weird. They probably have the most viable cores, but the reasons for that viability are solved by other core types. It doesn't help that most Helix holders are not often the optimal Bakugan to use for most decks. There are, however, 2 cores that very much stand out among Helix cores. Plus 500B, minus 1 damage Helix. Not the most effective of the Helix cores in terms of B power, but only having minus 1 damage makes it a consideration over the next core. Consider these when you actually want some damage. 600B, minus 3 damage. This is the highest B power available to Helix, but the downside of minus 3 damage can be relevant. Control decks are fine taking the damage hit, but aggressive decks might want to consider the previous core. The plus Frost Strike and plus Shadow Strike cores. Odd cores these ones, with no B power boost you definitely don't want to open on these. But with consort and pickup effects you can take these on a game you are winning to help out your damage. That being said, they're probably not the best choice of Helix core, but maybe some decks might appreciate the random bonus in certain metas and stuff. The plus 300B plus 3 damage Helix. This is not my choice for a Helix core, but aggressive decks may appreciate the plus 3 damage without losing out on a solid amount of B power boosting. It says something that this is better than any Fist or Fire Fist core. So onto the case of negative cores. You may have noticed I have not talked about any of the cores that reduce stats, or trap cores as they are more commonly referred to. Those who have yet to optimize their rolls may be wondering why. Well, it turns out once people worked out how to measure rolls, something I'll do another mini-sode on, trap cores simply don't work. With roll measuring, you can pick almost any core on the matrix and easily roll onto it. That makes traps being used as traps borderline worthless. However, this doesn't mean trap cores have zero use. With the introduction of core swapping effects in Resurgence, trap cores can be used for the swap, and this can be quite effective. Unfortunately, rerolls existing makes these decks much weaker, and this is the only current effective use of trap cores. For those decks though, it's the same logic as the cores I've already mentioned. The higher the B power drop, the better, because of B power is nearly always more important than damage boosting. So, in conclusion, just like action cards, use the highest B power you can from each type of core, with few exceptions, and basically ignore damage boosting. That's really all there is to it. Fortunately, it seems cores are gonna get a lot more interesting with Armoured Alliance. I'll cover those cores when the toys are out and about. And that's all for today. Like, subscribe, check out the links in the description. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I have a video on deck building basics if you would like some additional help with your deck building. And I will see you next time. Giraton out.